Welcome to another video. In this video, we are going to be talking about how to solve rational equations. And so with our first example, we have x over x plus 3 is equal to 1 plus 1 over x. And so the first step with this is we want to find the least common denominator. And in this case, our least common denominator would just be x plus 3 times x. And so our next step is to clear the denominators. So we're going to take that least common denominator and we're going to multiply it by both sides of this equation. Now before I get any further, if you need more help with the least common denominator, I go over it in some of my other videos, so please go check that out. But to clear the denominators, we want to multiply both sides of this equation by our least common denominator. And now we're going to have some things that cancel out. But first, let's multiply this all the way through. So if we simplified this, we would have x plus 3 times x over x plus 3, which would be equal to x plus 3 times 1, plus x plus 3 times x times 1 over x. So what we did here is we took our x plus 3 times x and multiplied it first to the 1 value, and then next to the 1 over x. So if we start simplifying things, we can cancel an x plus 3 here and here. And then on the right side of this equation, we can cancel an x there and there. And once we do that, we would be left with x squared is equal to x plus 3 times x plus 3. Now the third step is to simplify and solve. So we cleared out the denominator, and now we need to simplify this equation. So how we're going to do it is we're going to multiply through. Right now we have x plus 3 times x, and we got plus x plus 3 in parentheses over here. So we want to multiply that through and simplify. So we have an x squared is equal to x squared plus 3x plus x plus 3. We just multiplied this in and got rid of our parentheses here. And now we can combine some terms. So if we subtracted x squared from both sides, that would end up canceling. And then we'd be left with a 0 is equal to 3x plus x would be 4x plus 3. Now if we subtract the 3 and move it over to the left side, we would get 4x is equal to negative 3. All we did was flip sides here. And so now we divide by 4 on both sides, and our final answer would be x is equal to negative 3 over 4. And now the final step to this is to always check your answer. For the purpose of this video, we are not going to do that, but if you plugged in negative 3 over 4 into your x value and solved for it, you would indeed get that the left side and the right side would be equal to each other. So let's check out another example. So with this one, we have 4c over c minus 5 minus 1 over c plus 1 is equal to 3c squared plus c over c squared minus 4c minus 5. Just like the previous one, our first step is to find the least common denominator. So we can take the denominator from each one of these fractions here. We have c minus 5, c plus 1, and c minus 5 times c plus 1. So what we did is we factored c squared minus 4c minus 5, and we were left with this. And now, since we have common denominators of c minus 5 and c plus 1, we only need to take one of each. So our least common denominator would be c minus 5 times c plus 1. Now that we have that, our second step is to clear the denominators. So we're going to multiply both sides of this equation by c minus 5 times c plus 1. That's going to be a lot to write out here, but this is what it is going to look like. So we're multiplying by the first half here, and then also by the second half. And then we'll multiply the right side of our equation as well. And now this is where we get to cross a bunch of things out, which I find to be the fun part. So c minus 5 here and here will cancel. And then we also have a c plus 1 and c plus 1. These will cancel, and then c minus 5 and c minus 5, as well as c plus 1 and c plus 1. Now that looked like a lot, but when you all cancel it out, and now we just go ahead and simplify and solve, we're left with a 4c squared plus 4c minus c minus 5 is equal to 3c squared plus 3. And now if we simplify that one step further, we are going to get rid of this parentheses here, just so it is easier to work with. Now we need to combine some like terms. So we can move our 3c squared plus 3 over to the left side of our equation so that the equation is equal to 0, which leaves us with a c squared plus 3c plus 2 is equal to 0. Again, if we are moving too fast, you can always pause, take some notes, think about it. So the final step here is we're going to factor this equation. And when we factor it and set it to 0, we have two options here. We have c plus 1 is equal to 0 or c plus 2 is equal to 0. And if we solve for both of those, we're going to get two final answers of c is equal to -1 or c is equal to -2. And this is where the final step of always checking your answer is very important. Because even though we got -1 and -2, -1 is not a correct answer. It's an extraneous solution. Because what's going to happen is if we plugged in -1 for c, we are going to get -1 plus 1, which is 0, and 0 in our denominator is no solution. So therefore, c equal to -1 is considered an extraneous solution. So that wraps up solving rational equations. If you have any questions, please comment down below. Otherwise, check out any links in the description for more resources. Thank you.